What's up, everybody? It's Harrison here. If you look around me, you can tell that this is not my house. I am at my parents' house for the weekend. But you know what else happened this weekend? Stranger Things Season 4 finally premiered. Episodes 1 through 7 are available, but I have only watched episode 1 so far. I do not have 7 hours to myself to binge all of it. Some of you do, but I don't. Anyway, I just finished watching episode 1, so let's go ahead and talk about that, get some reaction and reviews, and maybe do some speculation on what's to come in the rest of the season. So overall, I think this episode is good. The pacing, however, is strange. No pun intended. The pacing of this episode is a little strange to me. The very beginning is super intense, super brutal, to say the least. I feel like they just put their gas, or I feel like they just put their foot on the gas and are just going at 200 miles an hour with that opening scene. It's super crazy and brutal. But then the rest of the episode, they kind of just coast at like 5 miles an hour. It seems really slow. Of course, they're developing the characters during that time, but nothing significant really happens again until the end of the episode. They put their foot back on the gas. It got really crazy, really hectic. There was kind of this lull in the episode for about an hour. I do think that this is a good setup episode. They introduced some new characters, some new locations that are most likely going to play a role in the rest of the season. So this is sort of like a good starting point for that. So let's talk about some of the things that I noticed in this first episode. The development of our main characters. They are all freshmen in high school now, and they're going through the feelings of how to fit in, how to be themselves in high school. And the characters are really well written. Some of them are in California now. Some of them are still in Hawkins. And so they're figuring out what it is to be a freshman in these two different locations. You have Eleven and Will in California dealing with California teenagers. Max and the other characters still in Hawkins trying to become their own people, trying to become popular, trying to get into Dungeons and Dragons still. So they're figuring out how to be a high schooler, and I think it's really well written, and that they're developing these storylines, and they're all going to wind up being connected in the end at some point. I also think it's funny that Eleven dresses and her haircut looks just like Joyce. I think this is kind of symbolizing that she's under the influence of Joyce now, as opposed to Hopper. Hopper, we got a little bit of a tease of what's happening to him. Well, what we suspect, he's in Russia based on the trailer. But we do get a little bit of a hint that he is alive. Joyce received a note inside of a doll, which, by the way, Joyce could have totally just used a hammer to break the doll. I don't know why she had to hoist up a paint bucket over a tree and then drop it. That seemed kind of strange, but I guess a hammer would have been too easy, you know? And we don't like to make things easy on ourselves, do we? It's also interesting that we finally get our first look at the villain, the super fleshy guy. I don't even really know what his name is, but he looked super creepy, and we finally get to see his face. So I'm sure there will be plenty more of that to come in the rest of this season. Also, he's got some really creepy hands. At the end of the episode, the bad guy, what should I call him? Flesh Man? No, that sounds creepy. How about Strange Guy? Okay, so at the end of the episode, Strange Guy is taking over the mind of Chrissy, the cheerleader, and she starts to kind of like, contort and whatnot. But we get a glimpse at sort of what it's like for him to be inside of her mind, taking control, and it is pretty creepy looking when she starts moving on top of the ceiling, and then her eyes just sort of... Strange Guy is probably going to be doing a lot more of that this season. I'm expecting things to get a lot worse for people in Hawkins, And yeah, I mean, you can tell that this season is going to be dark. This season is going to be brutal in some of the gore and some of the action. I think it's definitely going to have a horror feeling to the rest of the season. And I think that's really interesting. I think a lot of fans are going to appreciate that, welcome that, be supportive of that. So with all that being said, not a bad first episode in season 4. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season and getting to watch more of the episodes. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below telling me what you like about Stranger Things and maybe some of your theories about what could possibly go down in this season. And I'll see you in the Upside Down.